2nd and 10, and you run the ball and get it to 3rd and 6. That's better than what the Saints averaged at 8.6 yards. 3rd and 6 statistically is much easier than 3rd and 8.6 or 3rd and 5 or 4. And when's the best time to throw the ball? First down. Predictable coverages, predictable personnel groupings. Second down is the best time to run the football because now the opposition is more likely to be playing sub packages rather than base, additional defensive backs rather than additional front people. So now, the Saints play call, we've talked about how the offensive line has got to be better. And Senio Clemente did a pretty darn good job in the second half, moving to right tackle and playing the entire second half at right tackle. I was happy that the Saints did it like that instead of moving Andrus Pete over there and putting Clemente, let's say, at left guard. Just leave Pete where he's at.
Yeah.
He's proven that he's much better in a left-handed stance on the left side. And Clemente did a credible job at right tackle in the game. He's a darn good, versatile player, and his versatility really showed up. But the Saints have got to have shorter third downs. They've got to win in the kicking game and take some pressure off their defensive backs because we've talked about the defensive backs in a good bit so far. It's going to be tough for them to keep up there.
And I've got to say this, guys. Last season, the New Orleans Saints was number one in third down conversions. This season, I know it's only 2 games, but we are ranked 26th in the league at converting only 29.2% of our third downs.
Hey, Kyle, can I say
really
something
hard.
add on to that? That's because you don't have a Darren Sproles type running back in your offense, and you don't have Jimmy Graham or Ben Watson production coming from your tight end. You have to realize what's depreciated out of the offense. Those 2 areas.
I'm glad you mentioned that because Travaris Cadet was supposedly that guy that Sean Payton could be able to rely on the screen passes, right?
Nope.
And I just don't see it from Cadet at this particular time. Brendan, did you see anything differently with Cadet, or were the Giants' defensive players playing him differently?
The one that sticks out in my head specifically, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, it was 3rd down, I believe. He was out running a route into the flats, and he just completely dropped the ball. Drew Brees made a sign at him, essentially, this is how you catch the football. It was one of the first times I've seen Drew Brees get extremely frustrated in a game like that. I've seen him, obviously, he's an emotional player. He plays with a lot of passion. That's the first time I ever saw him get really upset. But no, I don't think the Giants really did anything defensively that made it different for Cadet. I just think it's an odd drop-off because towards the end of the year last year, those last 2 games that Cadet played in, the Jacksonville game and the Atlanta game, I think we could all concur that he was playing a better C.J. Spiller than C.J. Spiller had all year. I think that's why C.J. got let go. But Cadet really hasn't shown anything as of late. But I'm going to go back to what I said previously, is if you can't run the football, it's really hard to open up anywhere else. It becomes predictable. The defense knows you're going to throw the ball. But it's also the Saints use Cadet in passing downs and passing downs only, and the idea is to get him the ball in space, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's just becoming extremely predictable. Back when the Saints had guys like Sproles, Pierre Thomas, guys who could go out and catch it in the flats, make some moves, make guys miss, but they could also run the ball extremely effectively. I don't think the Saints really have a guy who can do both effectively, and in my mind, Cadet's just not the guy. I'm kind of with the professor. He was sitting there saying, no. Cadet is almost like a one-trick pony. I haven't really seen anything out of him outside of being able to catch it out of the backfield. And when you see a game against the Giants where he struggled as much as he does, that makes you raise another eyebrow. Why was CJ cut? Or why didn't CJ get an opportunity in the regular season before he was cut?
Very good analysis. And welcome to the show, Deuce. How you doing?
I'm well. How are y'all doing tonight, gentlemen?
Good.
Oh, my goodness. Deuce.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about the show that he and Brian had on last night. If you did not listen to the Who Dat Confessional, you've got to listen to this, especially the second half of that.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But Deuce, you were talking on the show last night a little bit about how the offense was a little inept. Could you shed some light on what you saw as well?
I've only been able to call in for a few minutes, but I can already tell you I agree with a lot of what everybody else has been saying, but I do have some more to just kind of add on to that. You talked about the third down conversion. Did you actually know that that's the lowest in the Sean Payton era? And not just the lowest in the Sean Payton era, it's the lowest the team has done since 1997.
Wow.
When they were at 26.1. Yeah, I do realize it's 2 games, but we're talking about a serious deficiency in the team who Drew Brees and a Sean Payton offense have always been known for solid third down conversions. And I'm starting to worry, and here's why. One of the first things we saw start to fall off, even though that yardage, this team is still upper echelon offense, is their red zone TD number started to drop. And before their red zone TD number started to drop, back in the 2009 through 2011 era, the Saints were tops in the league in final 2 minutes of both the second quarter and fourth quarter in scoring points. That fell away. After that fell away, we saw the red zone scoring start to fall off, where the Saints is no longer tops in the red zone scoring. And now it's worrying me because we see another crucial stat, third down conversion, falling away. And I think a lot of that has to do, and I've been preaching on this for years, the run game. I pulled up some stats today. I did some counts. Did you know that since Sean Payton took over this team, when they run for 100 yards or more, they are 66-22. That's a 3-to-1 win-to-loss ratio. I'll take 75% wins any season all day long. When they run 200 yards or more in a game, they're 9-0, never lost. Yet we see a team against New York that ran the ball 13 total times. You have a Pro Bowl running back, a proven Pro Bowl running back in Mark Ingram, who's not getting carries. You've got the cadet experiment not getting carries. You've got Tim Hightower, the great story coming back in the NFL, not getting carries. When there's no balance, when you're throwing, you got Drew Brees dropping back 46 times in the game and only running 13 times, you're not going to have success. You become predictable. You're the definition of one-dimensional, and that's the problem we saw against New York. Now, why it's fun up there, I'm not sure. Against Oakland, there was some balance. We needed more balance to win, which we didn't. But then instead of fixing that issue, of all places to run the ball, an away game and potentially what looked on the forecast to be wet weather, why that game plan was not scripted to be more run-focused, I won't know. But we're starting to see this problem get worse and worse and worse, and so many things. We could get 400 yards a game, but that's not going to win. Points win. And there's a proven system throughout the decades of what wins games. And one thing I said last year when I got on podcasts or I wrote articles is the average NFL team runs, Super Bowl winners run 420 times or more on average. The average is actually slightly higher. The Saints are on pace to not even touch 400 attempts this year. This has to be rectified now.
Very good analysis. Thanks, Deuce. I really do appreciate that. Let me just go to you, Coach. Then we're going to turn our attention to the Falcons game. How do you correct this if you hear the numbers that were just broken down that you have given to us, as well as what Deuce has just given to us as well, if you're Sean Payton?
Well, the professor hit on something that was very important. Forget about replacing Jimmy Graham. The Saints have been unable to replace Ben Watson. He had an exceptional year last year, and don't discount his ability not only as a receiver, but to play in line as a tight end. The Saints have nobody other than putting Tim Lolito at tight end that can handle that position, and that affects the running game dramatically. Kobe Fleener has, unfortunately, is perhaps showing up what my fears certainly were when they acquired him, that his skill set and what the Saints like to do offensively don't really match up very well, and he can't block at all. I mean, like I mentioned last week, he makes Jimmy Graham look like a sumo wrestler. He's so incompetent as a blocker. And also the thought of missing that Darren Sproles type of back. C.J. Spiller was supposed to be that. Well, he proved that he was not up to that particular ability. That's why Buffalo let him go. That they figured he didn't have it. Travaris Cadet is a guy. If you're depending on Travaris Cadet consistently, he's a good guy to have on the team. He is an NFL player, but if you're depending on him offensively, then you're just not good enough at that particular position because he's in third downs especially. He's not going to make anything happen. Opposing defenses don't have to focus on him when he comes in the game. Their defense could just take care of him with their regular defenses. They don't have to do anything special. They don't have to have a Travaris Cadet scheme defensively to be able to handle him. So they've got to get better execution, especially at the tight end position if they expect to run the football. And Deuce was exactly right. That fourth quarter scoring has been going down for years.
Yes, sure.
Ed Daniels, I've been on the Three Tailgaters for 3 years now, and Ed Daniels for more than 3 years has been pointing out how fourth quarter scoring has been going down over that period of time, and that really shows how incomplete game planning is, because you can't do in the fourth quarter what you did in the first quarter and expect to have results. You've got to have multiple plans as you go forward, anticipating what the opponents are going to be doing throughout the course of the game and be able to modify your plan to stay one step ahead of the opposition. And I think it's the completeness in game planning that is lacking. And that's also reflected, and I think it's important to look at the start of the game. So the start of the game and the end of the game is not nearly as good as the Saints really need it. Their opening drives aren't nearly as effective from a scoring perspective as they've been in the past. So they're having some difficulty in their game planning and play calling, because if there was, once again, 13 rushes in this game where you had to use time of possession as your ally, you had to keep the giant defensive front off balance by running the ball, especially in passing situations. When you look at time of possession, 27 minutes and 44 seconds, the Saints are averaging. After 2 weeks, the opposition 32 minutes and 16 seconds. And overall, in my statistical count, there's a 21-play differential between the number of plays that the opposition has run as opposed to the number of plays that the Saints have run. So it's that, yes, they've made some very poor personnel decisions. The tight end position right now is just a mess. What are they going to do there? And that's important to their production, once again, especially in the running game. And can the Saints get back to keeping defenses off balance by completeness of game planning and also by being able to run the ball in passing situations, and especially on second down? If the Saints can't do that, then it's going to be a struggle, as we've seen so far. You play hard, you hang in there, you're competing, you've improved in ball security. The Saints are a +2 in takeaways, which neither the Saints nor the opposition have intercepted a pass in 2 games. but much, much better than they were in the beginning of preseason in ball